SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
If you're feeling anxious about your investments with all the economic volatility and chaos in Washington, tune in to SuperTalk Jackson on Wednesdays from 9 to 10 a.m. and Sundays from 8:30 to 9:30 a.m. for Element Wealth Radio with Jeremy Nelson. Learn more at myelementwealth.com.
MidDays with Gerard Gibert is on the air. MidDays with Gerard Gibert is powered by C-Spire. Power your home or business with C-Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C-Spire. C-Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Everyone, and welcome to Middays, SuperTalk Mississippi. I'm your host, Gerard Gibert, along with Rhino in the Element Wealth Studio, guiding you through the middle of your day with facts, fodder, and fine music. Morning there, Rhino.
Howdy, howdy.
Okay, so please pronounce the name of the opponent for the United States soccer team today.
Turkey.
That's not the way they said it when I heard it on the news, but it was awfully confusing.
Yeah,
like Turkey or something.
Turkey
okay.
is the pronunciation the country of Turkey has asked the world to give them. I just don't really agree with that notion because, I mean, you usually call a country a name as it's given in your language.
Yeah.
It's very rare for another country to say your country's name in the home country's language, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like you don't call Japan Nippon.
Yeah.
You don't call France France. I mean, you just don't do that. So if the governing bodies want to show them the respect of calling them by the name they like to be called, that's perfectly fine. That's well within their right to ask them to do that. Just don't ask other countries to call you by a different variation of a name when it's really close to the original. It has a feature, the umlaut, that is rarely used, so it's going to be annoying to try to use it in any text form. And it gives a little bit of smack talk if I don't play into what they want to be called and just call them Turkey.
Well, I'll have to admit, when I caught that, caught the announcement, the story in passing, and I thought, is there a country I'm not familiar with, or is this Turkey? I really was unsure. Certainly there's not another nation that's that close, but it actually has the accent mark, like over the E, right? Turkey, is that what you said? Oh, my gosh. What time is that event today?
That will kick off on Thursday night at 9 p.m.
Okay.
Late night.
Overall, though, we got to be pleased with the performance of the American team. Huh?
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty dang good, I would say. And I'm impressed for sure. But
I mean, they're pulling off stuff that hasn't been pulled off by an American squad since the very first iteration of the World Cup back in 1930.
Okay.
And love it or hate it, the world of soccer doesn't really put a whole lot of stock in the records from that tournament and the strength of that tournament. They recognize it as the starting point for the World Cup that we all love. But, I mean, even statistics-wise, there aren't a whole lot of statistics from that tournament. Most statistics for the World Cup start in 1966 when England hosted it.
Yeah.
Because they kept meticulous statistics, and everybody followed suit after that. But in that first World Cup, the U.S. showed up, won their first two matches, made it to the semifinals, and got beat. Okay. That's the farthest the U.S. have ever gone. We made third place in that World Cup. But you got the big powerhouses in Europe that didn't feel like getting on the boat for 3 weeks to come to Uruguay to play in the first World Cup. So the level of competition is questioned.
I mean, everybody's here for this one, right?
So when you fast forward to now in 2026 in America, we've won the first 2 matches. We've scored more goals than we have since 1930. We're doing these things with this level of competition, not the level back then.
Well, no doubt, though, the best part of the whole deal has been the reaction from the visitors. It's incredible. I mean, it really
the video of Times Square yesterday where they have a yoga session in Times Square every morning or some mornings. And usually it's New York, it's well attended for an event, but it's not thousands of people at the yoga. Except for yesterday, because the Norwegian fans filled up the little bleacher section they had and half the sidewalks and everything else, just doing the yoga with them.
And then the Scottish fans in Boston, right? They're practicing.
Well, now they've moved to Miami.
Oh, that's right. You were talking about that.
Yeah, they finished their matches in Boston, and now they're headed to. They're in Miami. They were at the Marlins game last night, doing their usual thing where they take over the stadium. And American sports announcers and people liken it to a playoff atmosphere in the stadium, but it's just a bunch of Scots singing and having a good time.
It's and so far I haven't seen any like vandalism or destruction or any misbehavior. Everybody's been well behaved, enjoying themselves.
About the only thing, and I'll call it out on the air, they might get upset, but I don't really care because it's been proven time and time again, and I will admit they're taking steps to fix it.
Okay.
But StubHub has been a nightmare for some people because the whole thing going into the World Cup was, the ticket sales are a little low. We don't know if we're going to have full stadiums. We might have whole sections completely empty for these big matches. And then the market kind of got flooded with all these excess tickets, so people were picking them up for a good price.
Yeah.
Well, the World Cup starts. They haven't taken receipt of those tickets yet. All of the excitement drives the prices up, and StubHub was not really picking up their end of the bargain with their guarantee for an equal or better ticket when the original ticket holder was like, hang on, I was selling this for $300, but I can get $800 for it now. I'm not going to go through the first transaction. I'm going to back out and give it to somebody else for $800. And StubHub really messed up a lot of people's World Cup trips and wound up having to sit out in the fan section instead of the stadium. Apparently, they're now requiring if you're selling a World Cup ticket, you send it to them and they hold it instead of being a third party to it.
Interesting. Well,
so that's been the only real big stink I've seen is there have been a lot of people upset with StubHub.
And is it not being reported that we have a lot of visitors in the country from other nations that don't have tickets? They're just here to, like on a little mini vacation and to just be part of the celebration and around where the teams are playing, right?
Oh, yeah, because every World Cup venue outside has a fan zone. With a big screen set up where you can watch the match inside the stadium going on, but you don't have access to the stadium and the amenities of the stadium and all that. It's just
super
big
cool,
fenced-off thing where you can go and have a watch party.
So
they did that instead of allowing tailgating.
Gonna pivot to politics a little bit related to this discussion. We got people coming from countries that have leaned pretty heavily into socialism. They're shocked, blown away, super impressed, enjoying themselves in this country, which, while we certainly have bent into socialism a bit, not to the extent these other nations have. Not even close. Yet we have people here that want to do just that. Do they not get the message here? Do they not understand history, documented history? It's a failed system, does not work. Yet the Democratic Party continues to lean into it heavily. And today in New York, you've got elections, congressional elections, and the Democratic Socialist mayor of New York City, Zoran Mamdani, he's put his thumb on some of those races endorsing candidates that align with his twisted views of socialism, what he wants to implement in America's largest city. This is kind of a power struggle between who you have to, believe it or not, describe as more moderate Democrats, though they're all crazy radical these days to me, versus the AOC, Bernie Sanders, Mondani socialist wing. There's some loonies out there. You've seen it right on running, and some of the things they stand for. I mean, still pounding the drum of this abolition of ICE and law enforcement and dramatically expanding abortion. It's health care. You have a right to that health care. No, it's not. You're not caring for anybody here.
You notice nobody on the left really wants to talk about Oregon and their issues with legalizing and then having to make illegal drugs again and then claiming that, oh, look, the overdose deaths are down. Yeah, because you made the drugs you made legal illegal again.
Right. Exactly right. We're stepping aside for a break. I want you to observe new headset. It did arrive. It's pretty neat when you think about it. I placed this order yesterday. Amazon said between 4 and 8 a.m. Showed up at 6:30 a.m. It's pretty good, isn't it? Donna Yowell, Executive Director of the Mississippi Urban Forest Council, is next.
I feel good. They're rolling.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
What? This is so awesome.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
We're back with you in the Element Wealth Studio. It's both shocking and disturbing that these hardcore socialist candidates have gotten this much traction, this much funding, this much attention, and may, in fact, end up winning and being sent to the United States House of Representatives. We'll get on that later. Right now, it's Donna Yowell, Executive Director of the Mississippi Urban Forest Council. Hey, Donna.
Good morning. How are you today?
Doing fantastic. So tell us what's going on here with the Urban Forest Council conservation around Mississippi's Arboretum Trail.
Well, the Mississippi Urban Forest Council is a nonprofit that's mandated by the federal government through the U.S. Forest Service in order for Mississippi to receive funding. We don't receive funding as a nonprofit, but we're required to provide education. The project that we're working on now is actually pretty amazing. It's the only one of its kind in the entire U.S. I used to travel all over the country looking at urban forestry and community development projects, and that's how I came up with this project. And we're in partnership with the Mississippi Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund. That's the state. So it's basically working with communities to create local arboretums. And There's a lot of benefits to have an arboretum in your town.
Yeah, and Mississippi is somewhat unique in that it is blessed with such a wide variety of beautiful tree specimens.
Well, that's so true. And to be a certified arboretum, you have to have 30 different native species of trees on your site. So we're having last call now for any city. It can be different groups that help the city with these projects, such as garden clubs or beautification groups, even companies that want to help with the project can get involved. But it's basically creating arboretums on public sites, and we're setting up a network, sort of a trail system. Right now, we're looking at 46 arboretums around the state. And we're in our last call phase, which we will run through the end of July. We also have a class coming up on the details of that. So if anyone that's listening to you would like to have an arboretum in their town, now is the time to do it because everything is free. The city can get free trees, free certification, signage, education. And it's really focused on not just the urban forestry part and the benefit of having trees in your community, but helping the communities, even the small communities in Mississippi, to increase their tourism, increase their visitors. And Gilbert, you know why that's important for small towns to have more visitors.
Yeah, absolutely. So Donna, are you working directly with municipal leaders on this project?
Yes, we have been working with municipal leaders for the last 40-something years, and we are working, most of it is through them. We have a couple of social groups like garden clubs and DAR clubs and different clubs that are taking on this project for their community. So it's been really interesting to see how all these different groups are coming together. And the base for it is, like I mentioned before, the tourism, because a lot of communities are struggling with their sales tax revenue, and this is just one more reason for people to visit your town, shop, have lunch, maybe even stay. Yeah, it's right. Another attraction. So are they generally positive? The municipal leaders, are they embracing this concept and this project? Oh, yes. We've already, like I mentioned earlier, we've already got 46 on our list that we're working with, and I wanted to open it up for all communities because there's a lot of communities that just don't have the resources to do things like this. So we're here to help them to get that done. So I wanted to open it up for our last call so that any community can participate, large, small, all of them. And there's an educational component to this as well, is there not, Donna? It's important for our young people to appreciate our trees and understand how vital and critical they are to our society. That's right. That's the second phase of this project. It is required to have an educational piece on a website. It can be on anybody's website, but as a visitor, if they want to come visit your arboretum, they can connect with that web page, preferably on a city's website, and they can learn more about the city. They can, look at where they're going to have lunch, that kind of thing. Right. So it's linking the education with it is very important. And in the state of Mississippi, I mean, it's a super green state. You know that. Anybody that comes here, especially from the western part of our country where there are not a lot of trees, they come here, that's usually one of the first reactions. They're just blown away with how covered it is with trees. It's very green. It's beautiful. It's such a stark contrast to kind of the desert part of the country out in the west. And perhaps this attracts people, but more importantly, we're preserving our heritage as well, correct? That is so true. The last time I looked, Gilbert, we had 13 acres per person in the state of Mississippi, so we are very green. But the irony of that is there's not a lot of trees in some of our communities. And that's where you get the real benefit of urban forestry is in our communities. It's an energy saver, it's beautification, it's tourism, it's outdoor recreation. It just provides a lot of benefits, clean water, clean air, those sort of things. And I know this AI thing is a big debate right now. I would love to see buffers around every single AI development with trees. And I mean a large buffer, like an acre-wide buffer around every one of these things to try to mitigate the negative impacts. But trees are very important. They play an important role in our quality of life in our communities. And if you look at the communities that are succeeding quite well, they're well landscaped, they have trees, they're inviting people to visit.
Yeah, I agree. There's something about having just a manicured, well-landscaped green space in urban areas. I do think that is an attraction. It's something of value, and my guess is it probably also improves the value of construction, of property around those areas.
Oh, it definitely does. I could give you a number of cities in Mississippi that you look at the fact that they've got trees and tree canopy and landscapes. It increases property value. It attracts people to want to visit, live, or play in your city.
Yeah.
So it's a huge element that, and the thing about it, it's one of those elements that's not expensive to do. It's green infrastructure, just like any other kind of infrastructure, and it's something that's very doable for communities. And this project actually puts us in a position that we can help the community do that.
So if the average person just wants to get involved, Donna, how can they do that?
Well, we have a class coming up with Garden Mama, Nellie Neal, and that will be on July the 15th at 10 a.m. We'll go over every little detail of the project. But you can also reach out to me at our phone number or website, and I don't mind giving that out, Gilbert.
Sure.
For questions as well, or just text me to sign up and say I'm interested in the Arboretum program. And this is not just for mayors. This is for individuals or groups of individuals that would like to see an Arboretum in their town.
Yeah. Well, it's good that our municipal leaders are embracing this and receiving it positively. I do think it adds value to our cities. And again, we have a great climate to grow trees, and we've got so many beautiful native specimens that should be included, and certainly our young people need to learn about that as well.
That's true, and it's just one more element to increase the value and the quality of life in your community.
Yeah, sounds like a great program. We've been talking to Donna Yowell, Executive Director of Mississippi Urban Forest Council. Thanks for coming on, Donna. Enjoyed it.
You're certainly welcome, and thank you for inviting me. I would like to mention we are doing our free bulb giveaway right now for our bloom towns, and that's pretty much any city that wants to plant flowers. We're giving those away right now.
Okay.
And we will be having a radio show here in the near future to talk about all these opportunities for communities.
Sounds great. Appreciate you coming on. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We're coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.
From the Seabrook.
Attention, adoring fans! It's time for
Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
You know, I have to admit, Rhino, I'm a subscriber to Blaze Media. That's kind of the remnants of the old Breitbart stuff, which Andrew Breitbart was quintessential investigative type reporter that was always digging up stuff that nobody knew about or they maybe had an inkling of but didn't pursue. Well, I got to tell you, I may have to end my subscription because I get depressed reading it. Every day there are 2 or 3 stories, and this is stuff that just doesn't make the national media, and that's kind of what Breitbart was known for. And it's like real-world, real-life stuff. Like video of a teacher. This just seems to happen with more regularity than I can ever remember. Engaged in sexual intercourse with a middle school student. And there's video of it, and she's wearing a shirt that says, Jesus loves you. I kid you not. Well, here's one that I just got in my email. Home in Dallas, police have charged a man with murder after they found the remains of his girlfriend in a freezer in an abandoned house where neighbors said drug addicts congregated and did their drug stuff. It's crazy stuff like that every day that never gets elevated, to the national media. And I'm not sure it should. That's not the point I'm making. It's just, it's every day. It's like a hold my beer story. You think that one was crazy? Here's another one. But the two I just shared, that's in the last 24 hours. And it's a steady dose of that every day. That's kind of their shtick, is this sort of sensationalistic type reporting. Wow. The market's not looking too good today. The Dow has pared some of its losses, but it started overnight. I'm not exactly sure why, with a sell-off of chip makers in the Pacific Rim, and that transitioned and bled over into this country. And so there's concerns about maybe the market being a little hot. The NASDAQ, the tech-heavy NASDAQ, down 520 points, leading the way in the down category. In the bear category is Micron, which I think is scheduled to announce earnings tomorrow. Is Micron. It's this week, I know that. All eyes on the chip maker. And let's check it. It's down. This is incredible. $132 a share today. Now, that comes in at about 11%. The stock's trading for $1,000. But the technicals are still strong. It's not like super overpriced as a multiple. You see the report, the schedule there?
Yeah, it's scheduled for tomorrow. I'm just looking at the 5-day chart for Micron, and it just dropped back down to what it was worth a few days ago.
Exactly. It had a run-up that didn't make any sense, honestly. And this could be just in anticipation of their earnings report. It's hard to tell. But it's not every day you see a stock trade up or down with a 10 handle in front of it. But it's $132 a share down right now. And that's dragging NVIDIA down as well. It's down $7.61. That's about 4%. Just interesting, though, how all that stuff works. Still, though, most of these stocks, they're not actually overpriced. When you look at the price to equity ratios, they're not overpriced. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. But the NASDAQ in the red today, not a good day, but it's volatile. And tomorrow it could snap back up 500 points after Micron announces. Hard to tell. I'm expecting them to report a blowout quarter and extremely positive earnings outlook for the company because, as you know, the demand for memory in particular is soaring, and we ain't got enough of it. So I don't remember in my career of dealing with memory seeing the price increase and spike the way it has recently. And that's just because demand is just off the charts. And we don't have enough manufacturers. This is something that we would like to reshore, bring back over here, the largest Taiwan semiconductor, who is making some investments in this country. But, man, I'd love to see Intel, Micron really ramp up domestic production and build silicon here and all the various flavors of that right here in this country. That's precision manufacturing. That does create jobs and creates lots of economic activity. And most importantly, we learned right during COVID that, you mean we're relying on Taiwan to produce most of the chips? And the other big one is Samsung. So it's the Pacific Rim in general. And you got China right there that would like nothing more than to disrupt the flow of that technology into this country because it's in everything. Silicon's in everything. Literally everything. So, kind of a scary thing that the president is focused on it. He's talked about it. I'd love to see that. Sort of related to that, you knew this was coming, but there are concerns about the Chinese getting ever so closer to developing very powerful AI-infused cyber attacks on many of the advanced technology infrastructure and systems in this country. Intelligence agencies are warning this could be months away, not years or decades. We always thought it was a few years back. But this is because China is aggressively developing their AI footprint and capability. And guys, when they get to the point where they create these frontier AI models and they train them to act nefariously and maliciously, the risk is that they break through our cyber protections on our military, our electrical grid, our banking and healthcare systems. Could do way more damage than any bombs could, honestly. And this is why we've got to stay a step ahead in our development of AI-infused cyber protection technology. And the good news is the president also understands something you and I have talked about, that whomever has the high ground technical superiority in quantum computing, honestly, is going to have pretty much free reign of the world. Now, we're not an imperialistic nation, and we wouldn't use it maliciously and nefariously. But there are other people that would, like China. So the president issued an executive order, just did. And this is a new, very ambitious 2028 target for quantum computing systems that can conduct all sorts of scientific research, develop and enhance our cyber protection technology. That's the only way we're going to thwart the threat from China. And so this order directs federal agencies, including the Energy Department, to work with the private sector and academia to deploy quantum computers powerful enough to conduct research by 2028. And what the president says is we've got to show the world that we have this technology in a way that can produce benefit. He goes on to say the goal is to bolster security systems across the government and private sector so that advanced quantum hackers can't take down our critical infrastructure. I know that this may come as a shock to people, but guess where those things are housed? I know you know that. You need lots of connectivity. Where does lots of connectivity live? Data centers. You need physical security, electronic security. You need plenty of storage, networking infrastructure. But yet there are some people that think we're still stuck where we were 25 years ago, and therefore we don't need anything. This is why. This is exactly why. I don't want China taking down the electric grid. I don't want China penetrating the cybersecurity systems that protect the nation's healthcare industry, banking industry.
Well, the same quantum computer that could do thousands of years of calculations to try to end the scourge of cancer in a matter of seconds could also break any encryption and password we have in that same amount of time.
Nanoseconds. Literally. Right through. Take control. You don't think the Chinese are working on that? Heck dang, yeah, they are. Right now. That's why we can't sit. Oh, let's just talk about it for a couple of years. Next thing you know, the grid's down. Coming right back in the Element Well studio.
At Fillmore Buick GM.
Come on.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
All right, we are back
on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Hadn't heard that one in a while. The Ventures, Wipeout.
Yeah, fair warning, there's a few in the mix today that are on the list of got to use them or lose them.
Oh, okay. That's one of those that, as an aspiring drummer of the 60s, you had to learn how to master that solo. Oh, man, or you just hadn't arrived as a drummer. That's perfect. Love it. So it didn't get to this yesterday, but Alan Greenspan, former Federal Reserve Chairman, passed away over the weekend at the age of 100. 100. He coined the phrase irrational exuberance. That was concerning the dot-com bubble. He led the Federal Reserve 19 years, 4 different presidents. He was pretty good. His wife, Andrea Mitchell, NBC, a correspondent there. And let's see, she actually had a statement. He was a giant of a man who helped shape the U.S. economy for decades under presidents of both parties, but was always honest in acknowledging his mistakes. That's what Andrea Mitchell said. She was chief Washington correspondent and chief foreign affairs correspondent for NBC News. She went on to say, "To me, he was my husband who shaped my life. From our very first date in 1984. He loved baseball as well. Big baseball fan. And also a fan of the Washington Commanders. Loved tennis, golf, and music, especially jazz."
He could play the sax.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't even know that.
I didn't either.
That's incredible. He was a smart guy. He was nominated by Reagan in 87, came after Paul Volcker, really one of the most influential leaders of the central bank, certainly in the modern era, mainly in history. But remember when Reagan took over, he had to really dish out some strong medicine to arrest inflation. Jimmy Carter, clueless. And so monetary policy, people certainly in my age group remember the ridiculous interest rates, certainly for mortgages, 13, 14, 15% mortgage interest rates back in that time period, all designed to quell inflation, and Reagan did. Then, of course, he passed supply-side oriented fiscal policy. In other words, he cut taxes, is really what that meant, and eliminated outrageous regulations. And that resulted in a significant economic boom. This president following the same pattern to a great extent. Although, have you seen these reports about just how much regulatory cost is included in the price of homes and housing? It's outrageous. You know, we wonder why housing has become out of reach for so many people in this country, especially upstart young families. To a great extent, it's the regulatory cost component that has driven up the price of construction of homes, from the materials to the permitting to every dang thing you got to do as part of building a home. And we're all paying for that. Builders are passing that on, of course.
And then when you add on top of that the demand side of millions of people that seemingly don't get included in any of these calculations that are living here and needing housing.
The Democrats refuse to accept that and acknowledge that, of course, including, we were talking earlier about some of the candidates on the Democrat side, incredible, that are leaning heavily into democratic socialism, as they call. Avilia Chavalet going head-to-head against incumbent Adriano Espallet. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it. That's in one of the districts in New York, represented New York's District 13 for nearly a decade. chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. My guess is that particular district has a large Hispanic population. But a big part of her campaign, the challenger, Chevalier, is dismantling ICE, wants to completely discontinue the practice of removing illegals from the country. Just doesn't want that to happen anymore. Wants to stand up to President Trump's abuses of power. Isn't she something? Yeah, looking at her post here, with Trump's authoritarianism at our doorstep and billionaire greed in our backyard, we need someone who won't let AIPAC, real estate developers, and corporate PACs dictate how hard we fight back. Unbelievable.
She's the typical hysterical harpy that Democrats flock to.
That is so true. Fox News, SuperTalk News, coming right back. Your of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by the Mississippi Business Journal. Visit msbusinessjournal.com. Scott Coopwood, publisher and president.
And now, the talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
That's what I like to listen to.
You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert. Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's hour 2 of Middays from the Element Wealth Studio. It's Neshoba County Fair Week. It's a little early this year. I think the fair was moved to June because Neshoba County, I believe, has adopted year-round school schedule. And rather than conducting the fair, holding it in July as it typically is, which would be during the school year now, where school is in session, they moved it to this break period here in June. So we're going to be over there, Mississippi's giant house party. It's back. It's bigger than ever. We'll be there at Founders Square tomorrow and Thursday. It's one of the biggest events of the year, and you don't want to miss it. Our coverage of the Neshoba County Fair is brought to you by Build Mississippi. If you've got a student wondering what's after life next after high school, Build Mississippi can help show them the options. It's also brought to you by Southern Farm and Ag, equipment that works as hard as the people running it. So just taking a peek at the schedule that our content director, Alex Payton, has put together for us, looks like we're going to be talking to everybody. Rhino, the governor, the lieutenant governor, the secretary of state, the attorney general, and we've also got Commissioner Sean Tindall is going to be on Middays on Thursday. We're anxious to visit with him. Man, this AI-powered camera project has certainly ignited the firestorm, as they say here in the state of Mississippi. This, a project that looked like it was a done deal. Very confusing, honestly. And this involves the positioning by the Department of Public Safety of mobile, telescopic, if you will, trailer-based AI cameras along Mississippi's roadways where DPS has jurisdiction. And it was really unclear. What are these things going to be used for? Are they going to be used to identify some sort of driving vehicle violations, such as not having your seatbelt on, using your phone in a way that breaks Mississippi law, violates Mississippi law, and then send you a ticket, notify an officer up ahead of whatever the infraction, the violation is, who would pull you over based on information obtained from the AI-powered cameras. Really unclear. Now, you may have heard on our break, sounds like, Rhino, maybe our news department contacted the commissioner and had a discussion with him, because there's audio of him talking about it. He's going to be on the show Thursday, and I look forward to digging into this further. But best I can tell, this was a project that was approved by the board of the Department of Information Technology Services. This is a technology procurement, and the agency, ITS, is responsible, does administer IT procurement standards, policies, etc. in the state. And in this case, a state agency would work with ITS to develop a request for proposal, an RFP, for a project. They do that, you publish it, vendors respond, and then those are scored. Those responses are scored. ITS then recommends to the board a winner based on the score. Typically, it's across a matrix of various criteria, price and capability and technical quality of the bid with respect to its meeting the specifications, etc. But it looks like it got approved, best I can tell. We're going to get all this directly from the commissioner on Thursday. But the commissioner came out yesterday on his social media account and said, no, we haven't signed a contract for this yet. So it's a bit confusing, honestly. And I'm pleased to report that we've got the commissioner coming on Thursday. Don't want to get too ahead of that because there's just still a lot of details that need to be fleshed out, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I don't know what time Thursday, but you want to tune in to the entire show for sure. We're going to be at Founders Square tomorrow and Thursday, and then right after at 1 o'clock, it's the house band on the stage entertaining the fair goers right there on the stage in the middle of the track. We had a long practice on Saturday getting ready for the big event. Looking forward to it. So I'm actually going to do a little vocals. I'm going to do my best to play the drums reasonably while I'm singing. It's a lot harder than it looks, by the way. I'm doing some background and at least one song as lead. It's not a difficult song on the drums, so maybe I can get through that. Looking forward to that. It's going to be fun. I'm told that it's a little muddy over there, though, right? Stands to reason.
Usually.
It's muddy.
For at least a portion of the fair.
You've seen the video of like rivers going down through the areas between the houses.
It's pretty much guaranteed, and I've never been. This is just from secondhand experiences. At the Neshoba County Fair, you're going to have a day where it's oppressively hot and humid, but the dust still rises.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a day where you cannot keep the red mud off of you.
That's exactly right. That, I'd say, is an accurate analysis. But this whole camera situation is really got a lot of folks talking in the state of Mississippi. I know you were off enjoying soccer, but this came up Friday, first reported. And Will and I, man, we talked about it quite a bit. We had plenty of engagement on the C Spire text line as well, which we always appreciate. But the commissioner has sent, so it looked like it was a done deal. These things are going to be installed. And now the commissioner says, no, I hadn't signed a contract yet. So I'm not sure, honestly, what's going on. Now, the law of Mississippi is something to certainly focus on. There are a couple of laws. There's one that are relevant here. One is what is lawful and unlawful with respect to your smartphone while you're driving. And then the other, of course, is the use of automated cameras to be used to issue citations, traffic citations. Those actually were banned for use at municipal and county levels, but not the state level. And I'm not honestly sure of the purpose of that. One of these laws, Rhino, was passed in 2009 and one was 2015. I may get them reversed. I don't remember, and I don't know that that's relevant. But the law that was passed on the books that prohibits cities and counties from using automated cameras to detect traffic violations, and then used as part of the process to issue citations, best I can tell, only applies to counties and municipalities, not state-level law enforcement. Thus, the exception there. And then with respect to your phone, this one really doesn't make any sense. It seems to specify that it's unlawful to text, use social media, send emails on your phone while driving. But you can certainly use it for audio purposes, hands-free or on your ear. So you can hold it, use the hands-free feature, or hold it up to your ear. That's legal. But that kind of begs the question. We do lots of other stuff with our phone as well that could be very distracting, like buying something on Amazon, participating in a Zoom call, a web call, checking your bank balance, buying stock. I mean, I could come up with a million things that you do on these phones that could be highly distracting.
Watching video.
Yeah, right. Watching a video, reading a document, all the above. So I'm not really sure why when the law was passed, maybe it should have been written in such a way that describes what is allowed and everything else is not. Right? But
I mean, I was never really in favor of that law because if it is distracting you to the point where you are endangering other drivers, we already have laws on the books for that.
Okay. All right.
Dangerous driving, reckless driving. Those are punitive to a level that would stop someone from being distracted. Whereas they made this law with very little teeth in it, very little actual enforcement. It kind of feels like just one of those things they passed because it was a topic.
It seems like it. I agree with you. Because, have you heard of anybody that's actually... I got a ticket for sending an email while I was driving. Do you know of anybody that's had that?
Not for an email. I saw somebody get a ticket for texting.
Okay. I didn't know that. So I guess in that case, an officer literally observes them, knows they're texting? What if they said...
Sat there and watched them at the stop sign texting, and they kept on going texting while they were driving.
Well, what if they said, no, I was buying a treasury bill? I don't... You know what I'm saying? We're coming right back in the Element Well studio.
I'm Lauren McGraw.
And now, the talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
Now, on to the real part.
Dynamite!
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Earl Scruggs. Woohoo!
And friends. You ever seen the music video for this?
No.
It's been, a decade and a half ago, maybe even two now since they made it. But it was a collection of some of the most musically gifted individuals on the planet all getting together to play Foggy Mountain Breakdown. I mean, you've got anybody from... Is it Paul Reiser, the bald guy from late night TV? Him on the keyboard. You even had Chevy Chase show up with the band. Or not Chevy Chase. Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Showed up with his banjo. I mean, Vince Gill with his Telecaster.
Yeah, that's some talent right there. With the strings, for sure.
That's just a few of them. There's a whole gaggle of them.
That's incredible. Well, that's an appropriate song to pick to showcase such talent. No doubt about that. So the traffic camera law I was talking about that's on the books, that was passed in 2009. I sometimes get them confused. You got the cell phone law, 15, I think. Traffic camera law, 2009, signed into law by then Governor Haley Barbour. So, but what's weird is that there's a bit of a nuance in the law. Specifically, it prohibits county and municipal governments from installing automated cameras to detect traffic violations. What it doesn't state or cover or address is whether officers can hold cameras to detect violations. That's why the term installing explicitly is included in the legislation. Maybe that was intentional. I don't know. But the big thing here to me is that it only applies to counties and municipalities, not state-level law enforcement, Department of Public Safety, our Mississippi Highway Patrol, state troopers. So,
and I guess you get into the weeds about what technically is installation.
Oh, sure. Agree.
Are you temporarily installing it if you're putting it on a trailer and,
and moving it around?
Yeah. Pole.
That's right. It's not permanently installed, right?
But you could still argue that's a temporary installation.
Yeah. That'd be an interesting one to come before the courts, right, where you're really trying to overkill a word there, essentially. Yeah. That's kind of like the old Bill Clinton is.
Depends on what the definition of is.
So that's what we have. But it's I'll just say I'm still a little bit confused. Now, I believe if I'm representing this accurately, and I certainly want to, this is important, I think what I heard on our news from the commissioner himself, evidently having a discussion with our news department, was that these mobile AI-powered cameras were to be used to observe traffic patterns and to determine, use that input in determining what could be done to optimize the flow of traffic in certain areas, perhaps recalibrate red lights so that folks aren't waiting as long, if it makes sense to do that, identify areas that are at high risk for crashes and traffic accidents and maybe take action. I believe that's what I heard the commissioner say, as opposed to using them to see whether or not you're wearing your seatbelt or using your phone unlawfully while you're driving, and then tell somebody up ahead who gives you a ticket. Now,
I mean, I could see the argument for that because, unless I'm mistaken, the way they go about collecting traffic data now is they got to go out to a certain predetermined point and roll those little pneumatic tubes across the road, like the kind you see at the tire change place or the oil change place, where you drive by and you drive over and it dings and they know you're there.
Yeah.
They run those across the road. And
sure.
It counts the traffic over a certain amount of time, and then they collect that data and move on.
That's been around forever.
Oh, yeah, it's been around forever.
Yeah. That's a good point. Now, I don't think that would be as useful as video recording of traffic. If there's something that people a lot smarter than me could say, oh, yeah, that looks like this is a high-risk area for accidents. We need to do something different. I don't know, whatever that may be, in regulating the traffic or changing the road design, the traffic signals, all the above. I don't know.
Mose went to the effort of pulling out the list of the featured soloists from the Foggy Mountain Breakdown by Earl Scruggs and Friends. You got Earl Scruggs, lead banjo, Steve Martin, second banjo solo, Vince Gill on electric guitar, Albert Lee on electric guitar, Marty Stewart on the mandolin for the rhythm section and accompaniment. You got Jerry Douglas on the dobro, Glenn Duncan on the fiddle, Randy Scruggs on acoustic, Gary Scruggs on harmonica, Paul Schaefer on piano.
That's right.
Leon Russell on organ, Glenn Worf on bass, and Harry Stinson on drums.
That is incredible, and I didn't know there were that many Scruggs that were musicians.
It is a heck of a collection of talent.
Isn't it, though? Okay, so Steve Martin is a legitimate banjo player.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's part of his comedic shtick.
Incorporated it in his early stand-up.
Yeah. And I know Vince Gill is considered like maybe the best guitarist in modern country time, right?
And one of the purest voices.
No doubt about it. Agree. So that's cool. Thanks for that, Mose. So I think the big takeaway here is, though, the law that's currently on the books does not prohibit, the best I can tell, state-level law enforcement from using automated cameras to detect traffic violations and act on those. Honestly, I think started thinking about this over after our discussion on Friday when Will filled in. I think there's a practical aspect of this, and then there's a legal aspect of it. I'll just say from a practical perspective, I and others stay concerned about government acting as big brother, collecting too much information, invading our privacy, so forth and so on. And then there's the legal aspect of it. So if you think about the Fourth Amendment, for example, and how this may apply here, which was really all about prohibiting warrantless searches. You got to have probable cause and a warrant to search someone's person, their property, and so forth. So I got to believe was that a problem under the monarchy in England before the founders got on the boats?
Didn't have to have any reason to go rough up somebody in their house or arrest them and take them in. You just had to have the consent of the king.
Because is it not fair to say that much of what are in our founding documents were driven by stuff they didn't like and thought was wrong and bad for society under monarchy rule in England, right? I mean, that's where it came from. That's why they loaded up on the boats and came over here. So, unreasonable searches and seizures when you look at the Fourth Amendment, and all that makes sense. So, and I'll read it to you. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Well, that all makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, that's the legal foundation for a warrant. You can't just go get a warrant to go look around. You've got to have enough probable cause to know, well, I need to go in this person's apartment and look for this specific evidence. You can't just go on a fishing expedition to go find something to charge them with.
Okay. And so the phrase supported by oath or affirmation, I think that refers to those involved in the justice
Correct.
system, not criminal justice, but a judge who's taken an oath and affirmed their oath. A law enforcement officer, same thing, right? So it can't just be some random person. Here, go search. No, that's perfectly reasonable law that has been a stalwart part of our legal framework since the Fourth Amendment and the Bill of Rights were ratified and adopted. But here's where I'm going with this. You start thinking about, like, does MDOT's cameras that are capturing information and storing that on government computers, even though they're not using it to issue traffic citations, is that a violation? I don't know. I'm curious about this. Do people feel that might be a violation? You know, municipalities right out here across the state have cameras at all the intersections and other hot crime spots that they're watching activity. Is that a warrantless search?
Or is that collecting enough evidence for probable cause?
I don't know. That's a good question. Coming right back.
From the Seabrook in the state, Middays with Gerard Gibert.
It is on
SuperTalk, Mississippi.
You can't let that roll out of the rotation there, right? Great tune. 38 Special. So Mike from Columbus says public property, no expectations of privacy. But is it, Mike, if you're in your private vehicle? You see how complicated that, and I'm not trying to be confrontational here. I think we got to be consistent, is all I'm saying. And while I get it, people are up in arms about this, and that's what I'm saying. There's a practical aspect of it. Is do we want government having this much ability to just track us, to examine, to observe, to collect data on us? And I think that's largely a function of the fact that, in general, we don't trust government. And then there's the legal aspect of it. And I just read you the Fourth Amendment. Now, nobody was thinking about AI-powered cameras when the Fourth Amendment was obviously drafted.
And there are use cases that I think the public would be perfectly fine with the use of AI cameras, just not necessarily in the collection of evidence for their prosecution. Like in the instance, I think somebody on the text line actually brought it up. I'm trying to find it. But they were talking about red lights.
Yeah.
If you could set up a small AI camera to efficiently run a red light where you're not just sitting there waiting on the machine to click over to, okay, this is the cycle. If you had an active AI going, all right, there's a car there, change the red light.
Yeah,
people
agree.
would be much more accepting of the use of an AI camera in that instance.
Well, I think they would, and that's the practical bit that I was talking about earlier. But then there's the kind of legal and more suspicious aspect of it is still collecting data. I mean, they still have your personal information that's stored up somewhere in some archived video for some period of time. And it just begs the question, where do we draw the line? If we do it based on use case, well, but that's not in adherence with the strict interpretation of, is that a warrantless search? I mean, if think about this, Rhino, if you pull up to a red light and you're in a lane and a police officer's in the lane right next to you and you're side by side and they look in your vehicle, is that a warrantless search?
Not usually, no.
Right, but how's it any different than a camera doing it? If it's just looking, you know what I'm saying, and collecting information, because that's in his brain, her brain. And again, I'm not trying to be argumentative about it. I'm just saying that we're going to be faced with more of this. The way technology is evolving, there's going to be stuff that's not even a twinkle in the eye today that is going to be a challenge and going to confound our laws and our lawmakers. And this is an example of it for sure. But I look forward to having the commissioner on Thursday to understand more about how we got through this process, where we are today, because clearly there was an intent to procure because it went through ITS and, best I can tell, got approved by the board, but the contract's not been acted upon, hasn't been executed, according to the latest from the commissioner. And it's unclear at this point why you wouldn't go through the entire RFP process without the intent to purchase something. And in fact, in some cases, I don't know about in the state of Mississippi, I don't remember, but I've seen situations where the vendor will issue assurances. The buyer will provide assurances in the RFP. And it could be subject to certain conditions that, we're going to buy this, because you spend a lot of time and money as a vendor just responding. Now, the other thing that's common that we dealt with a lot in my industry as a vendor is what's called a bid bond. And a bid bond simply means, I'm insured that, I can do this, right? An insurance company is willing to insure my ability to deliver and do this. And everything I put in here is an accurate representation of how we were performed under this contract. A bid bond, essentially. And then there's a performance bond. And that simply says if for some reason we can't complete this contract, you're insured against that buyer, and you can go cash in that bond, if you will, if certain criteria are met where we failed and it's understood and agreed upon we failed. You go get somebody else to finish it. That's what the insurance would be used to pay a secondary replacement vendor, if you will. So all of that, I'm just pointing that out because that's all part of these rather complex RFP processes, and that looks like that's what happened here. So we'll certainly see. We got some text here I've got to get to. The people who were fine with the government having access might change their mind if another party was in charge. Could be. And again, I just point out that across the state, municipalities have cameras installed. They're not using them to detect traffic violations, but they're consuming data, video data. No doubt about it. They're recording it. They're storing it. And again, does that rise to the level of warrantless search? Peeking
I
in
think
on you.
no matter what, with any automated system, you're going to have queasiness from the public unless there is a human element attached to it. I mean, you look at the gunshot detection technology that's being used in metropolitan areas.
Yeah.
It's not 100% foolproof. You have instances where, like, there was a video of a guy, he has a storage unit where he keeps motorcycles. And he went to the storage unit, got a motorcycle out, cranked it up, revved it up a bit. Within like a minute and a half, here comes a cop car rolling up, lights blazing, sirens going, because it detected his motorcycle's engine as gunshots. Now, if you just had an automated system that was going to somehow attach those gunshots to an instance, then you need that human element of showing up and going, hey, was that really gunshots? Same thing with, I think there was a guy I think he's from Alabama, that got a ticket in the mail from one of these AI systems in Florida. And he's never been to Florida.
I saw that. Yeah.
So without the human element in between the automated system and the end result, you wind up with these situations where people get stuck.
Agree.
Having to deal with something that they wouldn't normally have to deal with.
But I agree. But let's be honest, humans are capable of making mistakes as well.
Yeah.
So it's neither are perfect. And that's why we have the legal system that we do. So it's a pain, but you can test. And my understanding is, like somebody on the C Spire text line was talking about Tennessee. Stephen Pontotoc says Tennessee has them and will issue tickets. They also have signs saying radar enforced. Yeah, Steve, I remember seeing that. I'll have to be honest. I actually got a ticket for running a red light, and it was going from yellow to red, and you could see that. And it was it was in Collierville in the 90s. It's been around a while, and I got it in the mail. I know a lot of other people have had that situation as well, so I'm telling on myself there. But late to get to a baseball game, coaching. And, yeah, you get a picture showing your vehicle with the license plate and the red light up above. Yeah, Tennessee had that in the 90s. Been around a while. I think they still do, as a matter of fact. Now, we don't allow that in Mississippi at the county and city level, but we do at the state level. And then we have license plate readers. You remember the big controversy in Ocean Springs, right, a couple of years ago, that installed LPRs, license plate readers, and were identifying folks that didn't show as having liability insurance. And they were getting a ticket for that. Well, our law doesn't prohibit use of the LPRs for moving violations, yes, but not for issuing a ticket for not having proper insurance.
Is it Virginia on the scenic highways where they've got enforced by plane?
Yeah, in Louisiana, it's helicopters.
Yeah, speed enforced by aircraft?
Yeah, and the same deal. They'll clock you, radar you while you're driving, especially like if you're on those long bridge spans over water in Louisiana. And then on the other side, there's a trooper in a car. Yeah, the helicopter got you. How's that any different?
That just made me think of it as like we've got this whole catalog of ways that law enforcement collect evidence.
Of course. What about using night vision glasses? Binoculars. I mean, you know what I'm saying. How's that different than sitting behind a machine watching a camera? The point I'm making is that there's more coming. And I don't know that we could write a law that would address everything that's going to happen. And with respect to technology here, and it's a tough one between, gosh, we want society to be safer, but we don't want government invading our privacy and having access to all that information and collecting it, storing it. We're going to step aside for a break. At 12:05 today, it's Leah Long, National Federation of Independent Small Business. Leah is the director for the Mississippi and Louisiana organization. Stay with us.
Crying all the time. Well, you ain't never caught a rabbit. You ain't no friend of mine.
Poly up of Mississippi.
You know what that means.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
We'll do it live.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
That's appropriate for the discussion of the day. Appreciate that, Rhino. Back with you in the Element Wealth studio. Go to myelementwealth.com or call 601-957-6006 to let Element Wealth help you find your balance between income, growth, and guarantees. As always, the C Spire text line is wide open, 601-879-4395. Kirk from Columbus. I just want you to know, Kirk, you struck a nerve with me, and I absolutely 100% agree before I read this. Kirk says, as much stuff as people post on Facebook and Twitter, why are they worried about what information is being gathered on them? It does appear, does it not, Rhino, that the people who grouse the most about privacy absolutely share every intimate detail about their lives on social media. That's
you could establish a pretty strong pattern of life just on their voluntary posts.
Oh, man. No doubt about it. You know, I got to tell you, I've thought for some time, at least certainly in public spaces, that every inch of the planet is going to be under some sort of video surveillance.
Well, I mean, depending on how thick your tinfoil hat is, it already is.
Already is, right.
And has been since likely before I was even born.
Long time, right. It's just a matter, I think, of who has control of that information and what it could be used for. If it could be used to harm, to damage, nefariously, maliciously, that's a different level. And so I just want you to know, I don't have a problem with the MDOT cameras. I'm just pointing out, though, they are collecting information. They are observing, capturing video of all of us riding on the roads, and that's a government agency. Now, I know they use it to monitor road conditions, primarily weather conditions, traffic flow, all the above, for their planning, for their maintenance, for their management, and I think that's a good use of it. I've actually been at MDOT to their headquarters downtown and seen their setup. I mean, it's, as you can imagine, it's just walls full of monitors, each of which are connected to various cameras across the state, and there are people that are viewing that, constantly watching that. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that is government that is collecting information about you. And I admit you're in a public space, and it's no different than if you go to downtown Jackson, there are cameras all over the place. In fact, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's a private group, Downtown Jackson Partners, that was involved in the installation, even the funding of those cameras. And they're a crime deterrent. They're used to capture video of crimes that were committed, which I believe are permissible in a court, right? And then they're also a deterrent. I mean, if you know that you're under video surveillance, you may think twice about busting a window on a shop on Capitol Street there. So don't all our classrooms have cameras in them? Many of them do, right? Our schools. For various reasons. Children are citizens. Are they being observed by government? Searched by government? Watching their every move? Do we have a problem with that? Because that's for the most part, this is the question, and this is I can't remember which one of our founding fathers that made the rather profound statement about the balance between, I don't remember the exact statement, the balance between safety and privacy, right? So should you forego some of your privacy to achieve safety? And all of this kind of begs that question, is related to that. And we have them in our capital, our stadiums, our schools. It's everywhere to the point. So I think where folks generally draw the line is, yeah, but you're using it to issue tickets. I think people have a problem with that, right? And I'm honestly not sure in the case of these AI-powered cameras that the Department of Public Safety was considering. Again, when you look at our laws with respect to lawful versus unlawful use of phones, mobile phones while you're driving, I'm not sure if it gets to that level of precision. You know, does it know if you're on your phone whether or not you're texting or sending an email versus buying something on Amazon? The former of which is illegal and the latter is legal. Best I can tell in looking at that 2015 law. Interesting. Robust discussion for sure. I think you're going to see the legislature probably cook something up. But again, we're pleased to share that Commissioner Sean Tyndall of the Department of Public Safety will be on Middays right there from Founder Square on Thursday, and we'll dig into all of this with him, Founder Square, of course, at the Neshoba County Fair. It's time for Fox News and SuperTalk News. It's Leah Long with the NFISB coming up next.
Come on home. I don't need no, you ever talk about? I don't need no, I don't need no aspirin. I don't need no lotion. I say I don't need no vitamin pill.
Welcome to the show that challenges you to think deeply, and look beyond political posturing. You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Hour 3, the afternoon portion of Middays. We are again live in the Element Wealth studio. We're pleased to welcome now Leah Long. She's the Mississippi and Louisiana Director for the National Federation of Independent Small Business. Leah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on today.
All right, give us the snapshot overview. How are businesses feeling about the current economic climate?
Yeah, we're kind of halfway through the year, which the year's flown by, kind of shocked by that. But in our latest report, we're kind of level right now. There isn't a huge increase in optimism, and there's not a huge decrease. But I will say 18% of the small business owners did report that inflation was one of their biggest issues, which with gas prices going up, it adds to the uncertainty, the cost of getting their goods and, all that has went up. So it's going to be a big issue for the small business owners if we can't get that under control. So it's kind of where they're at right now. We're in summertime. Sometimes summertime's hard on small business owners. So we're going to continue to see what happens.
Yeah. So how many businesses, Leah, in Mississippi and Louisiana, for which you're responsible, how many of them rely a fair amount on summer travelers to generate revenue from them? Are many of them telling you, yeah, we're hoping that the price of gas, for example, doesn't blunt and cause a decrease in travel into the state, so they spend money?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, being Louisiana, Mississippi, you're kind of the gateway in between Texas and, down toward Florida for the coast and everyone traveling. Of course, I love to say Bay St. Louis is just as nice to me as some of the places in Florida.
Absolutely.
But, It definitely affects that. When people are traveling, which we urge them, if you stop in somewhere, visit your local retailer, visit your local restaurant, stop there and get gas, support those small businesses as you do travel throughout the summer. And, it kind of comes back to the workforce side of everything, too. I know we talked about that a lot during the session, and 29% of small business owners reported last month that they had job openings they couldn't fill, which if summertime travel's busy, you need to have employees in there working. And so that's another thing to think about this summer, too.
So, Leah, I feel like to a great extent we avoided what could have been an economic catastrophe had the Trump tax cuts from 2017 that essentially were extended in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act signed into law just a little under a year ago. I've always thought that the provision that probably was the most valuable to the economy was the immediate expensing, which was phasing out. And that simply means, of course, that businesses can buy capital goods, spend money on plant and equipment, and write the entire amount off for tax purposes in the year of purchase. Had we not extended that, I really think that would have had a super detrimental effect on the economy. What are you hearing?
I completely agree. There were a couple things in that big, beautiful bill that we supported. For instance, definitely one of those, the 20% small business deduction was in there.
Yeah.
No tax on tips was on there. So you had a lot of things in that bill that actually affected small business owners. And as that continues to play out, and of course, the one you just said, I think if we wouldn't have done those, it would have had a huge negative impact on these small business owners. That one, for instance, the 20% small business deduction, that was huge. Every business would have been hit with a 20% tax hike if that wasn't made permanent.
Yeah.
That would have wiped out a small business.
Yeah, exactly. The so-called pass-through deduction for those that file as subchapter S corps, LLCs and the like, not full C corp type corporations that file as C corps in the subchapter S environment structure. The profits of the entity flow through to the owners personally, and then they compute their taxes on that basis. But they get a deduction of some of that before they include that on tax returns, what we're talking about here for our audience. Yeah, that was huge, and something that would have expired, which would have meant they all would be paying substantially more taxes.
Absolutely. And, Mississippi, being the South, I think everyone's focused on personal income tax rate right now. And, of course, if we don't continue to lower that in Mississippi, it's going to affect our businesses. But it starts at the federal level. And so now that they tackled that on the federal level, we've got to continue to tackle it on the state level.
Health insurance, Leah. I'm sure you're hearing this from your members. I mean, this is a big expense item for many of them, and it continues to increase. There doesn't seem to be any end to that in sight. Of course, most business owners, they want to be good and offer group insurance to their employees and help out with the cost of premiums on that. But, man, it's getting on up there.
Yeah, it is. You think about everything that the cost of rising, cost of doing business has went up. And so these employers have to either eat that cost or pass it on to consumers. And like you just said, they want to be good people. You're a small business. You're a family environment. They want to be able to offer the best compensation package. And a lot of that is health insurance, but it's got to the point where it's just astronomical and premiums keep going up. So we've got to continue to urge on the federal level, even state level, when it comes down to mandates and what needs to be covered in state health insurance and all that. We've got to continue to get that under control. We'll talk about a lot of just insurance reform to begin with, and whether it's commercial, auto, health, it all is a little outrageous right now for these small business owners.
Yeah, it's a good point. All forms of insurance have continued to spike. And the insurers say, well, the replacement cost, certainly with casualty insurance, for example, continues to increase, and the cost of health care continues to increase. Thus, the price of health insurance is rising. Something that I don't know you and I have ever talked about is property taxes. And I bring that up because there's kind of a wave in this country, including here in Mississippi, to reform the property tax structure, mainly to lower property taxes. This is an expense that small businesses bear as well.
Absolutely. It is an expense. And, that comes kind of all states. I hear that in Louisiana too. So it's kind of funny to always see where Louisiana and Mississippi fall. But that is one thing it does. It eats to the cost of doing business. And of course, lowering the tax rate in all levels is good. But to making sure that we're not paying that, in a higher sales tax or making up for that money somehow is definitely we want to continue to watch if we do go in that direction.
In Mississippi, we have a state sales tax of 7%. And we only have a couple of municipal locations that have the so-called local option. There's some local options on restaurants and lodging, but overall, though, in Mississippi, you're going to pay 7%. But in Louisiana, it's a different story. You got typically in every parish and every city, you've got layered on local taxes on top of the state sales taxes.
It is, and that's one thing about Mississippi I love that you don't. Just for back to the parish I live in, I think at the end of the day we come down to about 11%.
Wow.
Based on everything. So, yeah, it could be way worse. You could be living over here, I guess. Which, continue to tackle that because then at the end of the day that affects business owners, that affects consumers, it affects everybody.
Yeah.
So, keeping the tax as low as possible is the guaranteed American idea is what I love to say.
Yeah. Well, it seems like the government's going to get their money one way or another in Louisiana.
Whether they
right?
or not, they're going to get it. Mm-hmm.
We have very
Absolutely.
high.
But that goes on.
Go ahead.
Being fiscally responsible. And I think, I applaud to Mississippi. They have been very fiscally responsible the last several years to try to figure out how do we continue to make Mississippi more business friendly? How do we continue to lower the income tax rate? So I wish, Louisiana would take some ideas from that too. Yeah,
absolutely. In Mississippi, we have really high car tax, as we call them, ad valorem taxes on vehicles. But in Louisiana, it's virtually non-existent, right?
Exactly, it is.
But you pay the higher sales taxes.
That is true. So you kind of got to pick the worst evil. How do you want it? But at the end of the day, the government's going to get their money for sure.
It sure seems like it. But and I appreciate you calling out the fact that the state of Mississippi, I do think, has been fiscally responsible. As you know, we've had surpluses here for the last 5-6 years. And I think that can be largely attributed to our lawmakers who have not spent every penny that we take in.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think they're addressing the real issues in the state: workforce, taxes, education, continuing to kind of rebuild some of the reconstruction areas that they need to do to continue to make the state better. And so I definitely applaud them on that.
And Mississippi and Louisiana have succeeded in landing significant investments in new projects, new business opportunities in our state.
Yeah, absolutely. I think last time I was in Mississippi around Jackson, they were talking about the new Meta plant that was going to be in northern Louisiana, but they were saying a lot of the people that are going to work in the plant are actually from Mississippi.
Right.
So they were crossing the state line. So that project almost benefits both states. But I like people to remind, even though we get these huge projects, you're going to have some privately owned businesses that work in there, where your contract work, dirt work, whatever it may be. There's a lot of small businesses that play big parts in big business too.
No doubt about it. In Mississippi, the AWS project in Madison County, last report I got indicated there's some 88 Mississippi-owned businesses that are receiving work from that project, benefiting from it. That's a pretty good deal for our state. Leah, always good talking to you.
Absolutely. You want to keep...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate you coming on, Leah. Thanks a lot. We'll see you again. Coming right back in the Element Well studio.
Hey folks, I'm Andy Gibson, and you already know about our Mississippi Farmers Market every Saturday 8 to 1 in Jackson on High Street. And we're excited to announce a brand new market for you and for our farmers, the Genuine Mississippi Farmers Market in Brandon, Mississippi. Now this has been so successful, we're having to move it to the Brandon Amphitheater every Saturday 8 to 12, weather permitting. It's a big open space. Come shop local, eat fresh, eat healthy, support our farmers. I'm Andy Gibson. I'll see y'all at the farmers market.
Your great Chevrolet is Mississippi's largest General Motors business elite dealer. We make it easy to maintain your fleet with over 100 work-ready vehicles available for your job site. Diesel, gas, trucks, vans, and service bodies. And we build to your business specifications. It really is easier with Rogers Dabbs Fleet. Call the Rogers Dabbs Business Elite Fleet Team today at 866-671-4226 or visit us online at rogersdabbs.com. Rogers Dabbs Chevrolet. Find new roads.
Hi, I'm Emily Brewster with First South Farm Credit, serving the Newton and Ridgeland branches. At First South, we understand that buying land is more than a transaction. It's a dream. Whether you're looking for a quiet home site, a hunting retreat, or just a place to get away from it all, we're here to help make it happen. We've been financing rural land for over 100 years. It's what we do, and we do it well. So if you're ready to take the next step toward land ownership, give me a call at 601-898-8540 or visit us online at firstsouthland.com.
At Key Constructors, our mission is to build a legacy that will stand the test of time through hard work, dedication, and pursuing excellence. Key Constructors is a heavy civil construction company, a leader in the bridge construction world. Our goal is to provide a positive work environment for you to grow personally and in your career. We are proud of who we are and what we do, making it happen one bridge at a time. Come join our team of Black Label Bridge Builders. Check out Key Constructors on Facebook and other social media platforms and keyconstructors.com.
You already know that Madison Cellars is Madison's favorite place to buy wine and spirits since 1988. On Highway 51 in the Madison Station Shopping Center, Madison Cellars has a hometown feel with a big city selection. Do you have a question about which wine to serve with a certain dish? Call 601-856-0931 and let their knowledgeable staff help you find the perfect match. Find out more at madisonsellars.net or stop by today. Madison Cellars on Highway 51 in the Madison Station Shopping Center.
Filibuster. Just everything you need to know to start your day smarter. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Check it out. Let's do this. The talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Let's get on with it.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Swing. You should have heard this knocked out jailbird sing that rock. Everybody.
So while the markets are trending somewhat down, actually the Dow is now turned around. It's in the green. It's been hopping all around that unchanged line. The NASDAQ paring some of its losses, but the price of oil, $73 a barrel today. So I think we'll continue to see the price at the pump come down. The president just reported that the talks are going well. That's about all he's saying at this point. In Iran, not really sure what to make of that. I do feel like that we're going to have to come out of the other side with some assurance that Iran's nuclear capability has been totally squashed. Anything less than that, I think, will be problematic for a lot of folks. Also, congratulations to the Oklahoma Sooners. They are champions of the nation in Division I baseball. Wasn't much of a game, honestly. They kind of led from the get-go, and then it just got out of control. Always fun to watch the ending of the College World Series. I think that something about a baseball field and the dugouts, configuration of it, and the celebrations on one side, the dejection on the other, and how well the cameras are able to capture those emotional moments and also get the parents and families in the stands. It's pretty cool, honestly. And I as a baseball guy, think that's totally fitting, given that's kind of a unique American game. In that respect, Abner Doubleday, of course, invented the game of baseball. But it's all over now. Man, it's a long season, isn't it? Starts in early February, I believe, and now we're just finished. Of course, if you're playing, you want it. You know, if you're part of it, you want it. It's also Coach Skip Johnson have a a bit of a personal connection there. Rhino, Coach Skip Johnson, he's the head coach, by the way, of the Oklahoma Sooners. My son was recruited by the University of Texas to play baseball when he was a freshman in college, and he was playing JUCO ball. And Texas got on him, and Coach Johnson was the assistant coach at the University of Texas. At the time, he had ascended from the JUCO ranks in Texas, where my son played there. But we did a campus visit, official visit, and he was our host. He actually came to see, without us knowing, came to see my son play when he played his first year in Alabama. They were playing at the Mobile, is it the Biscuits? The minor league team, I think.
Montgomery Biscuits?
Montgomery Biscuits, yeah, that's right. What's Mobile? That's where we played, at the Mobile Stadium down there.
The Bay Bears.
That's right, yeah. And Coach Johnson was sitting there right in the middle in the little private area that's positioned, the suites there behind home plate. And that's kind of neat, though. So congratulations to Coach Skip Johnson and the Oklahoma Sooners. They are champions of NCAA Division I baseball.
The Bay Bears are no longer in Mobile.
Oh, where are they now?
The Bay Bears in 2020 relocated to Madison, Alabama.
Okay.
Where they are now called the Rocket City Trash Pandas.
Okay. I wonder if they're still using that stadium. That's a pretty nice stadium there in Mobile. Of course, that was a long time ago. Pretty neat, though.
Hank Aaron Stadium.
That's exactly right. Yes, thank you. I remember that now. He from the area, right? If I'm not mistaken, that's why it was named after him. He can play a little baseball.
Looks like the final sporting event to take place in Hank Aaron Stadium was the Savannah Bananas playing the Savannah Party Animals on March 26th and 27th of 2021.
Interesting.
After that, the owners seized control of the stadium in 2022, and no other events have been held there since.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. Let's see. Mo says states have been tracking movement of people for quite some time. 20-plus years ago, our mom took the grandsons to Disney World. On the way back, they got stopped between Pensacola and Mobile. The Highway Patrol already knew where they were traveling from. Yeah, not surprising whatsoever. Jeff in Grenada says, if MDOT uses cameras for road conditions, then they need to put about 1,200 cameras on Highway 35 between Carrollton and Holcomb. It's pothole central. Man. Stephen Pontock says, Tennessee has these cameras and they issue tickets. They also have signs saying radar enforced. Now, somebody just said that you can pretty much discard them, that they don't follow through and collect on them. I guess I thought it went on your driving record and would affect.
They would if they were tickets issued by the court.
Oh, okay. So that's to go to the next level.
The tickets are issued by a firm that has been contracted by the state with no actual legal enforcement.
Okay, interesting. Oh, so why do it then? Maybe I don't know. Yeah, I guess so.
If you can't legally get away with having a camera give you a ticket, then you just say, no, it's not us doing it. It's this contractor doing it.
Yeah.
And you don't really have to pay them, but the letter they send you makes it seem like you got to pay them, so a whole bunch of people do pay them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was Barry in Golden. He says, I got 4 or 5 of those Tennessee photo tickets and never paid one. I listened to a state representative from Tennessee who said those tickets do not have to be paid. They cannot prove who was actually operating the vehicle. Also, upon closer examination, the tickets are not actually issued by law enforcement, just as you were saying, but by a third party. Wow. Interesting. No doubt about it. On the 662, I can see the chopper or plane because those are law enforcement people, just a different vehicle. I'm highly against the third-party automated cameras. Well, I hear you, but you could also see the cameras. I mean, they're not anything that are hidden. That they look like kind of a generator, is what they look like, at the bottom with a telescopic pole that rises up from it. It's got a camera on it, and they're they're on wheels. I mean, so they're mobile. They can be transported and repositioned. And so, again, we're going to have a good conversation with the commissioner Thursday to understand way more about this. Just my opinion on the C Spire text line. This is a great example of why the state laws regarding window tint should be changed. Dark tint would help protect a person's privacy. I guess there's also the question, is there not, Rhino, of your expectation of privacy when you're on public roadways? I don't know. So, again, there's the practical aspect of it and there's the legal aspect of it. And that's the kind of my main takeaway from this deal. I'm going to shift gears a little bit. We've been talking about property taxes, and again, there are 10 states that are now looking at major property tax relief this year. Florida, Texas, Ohio, Michigan, North Dakota, Georgia, Indiana, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Kansas. I think a lot of people would like to see Mississippi added to that list. Kansas is one that really kind of shocked me from the perspective of the increases in property taxes versus inflation and population increase. So in the state of Kansas, looking at this chart published by the Kansas Policy Institute, property taxes have risen 2 to 3 times faster than population and inflation. We have a similar story with respect to public education, do we not, Rhino? We've got a decrease in the number of students, but an increase in the amount of money going to education. And per student has increased with fewer students. So I think most clear-thinking people would say, wait, you got fewer people to service, to deliver services to, yet you keep spending more money. Something isn't quite right. And I think that's what we see here. So, surprisingly, their tax revenue is up 164% since 1997 in Kansas, but yet inflation 11% over that period, and population 2%. Well, I agree. That sum doesn't sound right. That absolutely does not seem like it's reasonable. And I think that's where we got to ask some hard questions and hold municipal, county leaders, school districts accountable and get to the bottom of this. My biggest concern in the state of Mississippi, I think, is we have so many rural areas that we got a lot of people working in the school districts, in the counties, in the cities that perhaps wouldn't have employment otherwise, and we've kind of turned it into a jobs program. Coming right back in the Element Wealth studio.
From the Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Welcome to our shop
on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Okay, now you have a good one.
Welcome back, everyone. It's the Iron Butterfly. You had to get that one before it rolled off, huh? Nobody knows what in the heck the lyrics mean. From the acid rock era. That's about 67, 6, something like that, I think. Iron Butterfly, whatever the heck that means. You looking it up when that was recorded? The whole side of the album, by the way.
Written and released on their 1968 album of the same name, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida.
68, okay. Gotcha. Well, we're back with you in the Element Wealth studio. This, I was taken back by Leah Long, who we had on earlier, National Federation of Independent Small Business. She, the director for Mississippi and Louisiana. You heard her say it, though, in her parish, 11% sales taxes. 11%. So, right, you have very inexpensive car tax, but you pay 11% sales tax. The government's getting their money one way or another. Just pick your poison. How do you want to pay it? It's really what it comes down to. Most places in Mississippi, you're paying 7% for most purchases. On the C Spire text line, this is from D in Aberdeen, asks, says sent Rhino a message last week about utilities in Okolona in Monroe County, Mississippi. Please ask Gerard to address this over the air. Why are our kilowatt hours so high? Maybe someone will text in. Well, I did just as much time as I had on the break to try to identify what sort of rates you're paying there, D in Aberdeen. Appreciate the question. So best I could tell, I looked at the Okolona Electric Department, which seems to be the organization that does deliver electric service in that area, Okolona, Mississippi, Monroe County. Average of $12.64 cents per kilowatt hour. That seems to be fairly reasonable. Just looking at Entergy's footprint, that's where I live. In Ridgeland, I'm serviced by Entergy, and my rates are over 13 cents, actually higher in that respect. And that is true for Entergy's footprint in Mississippi, which, by the way, is about 20% less than the national average when I looked up that. So I'm not sure. Have you seen it spike? D, I would encourage you, and I actually did this a few weeks ago, if you have access, and I'm certain you do, look back historically at your bills to see what the kilowatt hour rate was. Say, look over the last couple of years and see if that has, if it reflects any increases over that 2-year period. I would honestly be surprised if you find that it does. Keith in JS says, I got a ticket from a mobile camera unit in Baton Rouge, sent a check back with it. A few weeks later, got the check back in the mail with a letter saying the ticket had been discarded. And so I'm also hearing that when this stuff happens, if you do go to court, which is no doubt a pain, you got to take time out of your schedule to do that, that if you contest it, they pretty much just write it off and reverse it. Acquit you, whatever the proper term is there. It is kind of crazy. Yeah, on the C Spire text line, cameras on Texas toll roads, same in Florida, by the way. You'll get a bill. That's absolutely true. They do track your license plate as you're moving through the toll booth. And, of course, the way they're automated now, if you don't pay something, you're not getting through. I mean, some may be an exception to that, but... And, of course, you can buy that in bulk and buy a pass, as you know, and just move right through. And usually they have a lane where you have to stop and pay, or they have a lane where if you have a pass, that's detected, I believe, from your license plate or some other means, and it lets you right through. Kind of like the clubs with the car washes. You know, you go through and you don't have a club membership, you're going to have to stop and pay. If you do, it detects your vehicle and lets you right through. I think Hank Aaron Stadium is now a driving range, says Ron from Ocean Springs. Jeez, that's kind of sad to hear. Little bit of nostalgia coming out there. Let's see here. Stephen Pontotoc says the cameras will take your picture, blind you at night. Madison, what, really? Steve, where are you talking about? That was a text above it. You were talking about Madison and Huntsville, that area of Alabama growing leaps and bounds. Yeah, I agree, Steve. No doubt about it. Lots of industrial development going on there for sure in a good way. Let's see here. This is from Michael Lightsey, realtor. Issues a civil assessment, okay, by a third party and not a moving violation. That way they can circumvent your due process and your right to face your accuser. They can't legally enforce against your driver's license, but they will threaten your credit. Okay, appreciate you letting us know that. Michael, have you run into that in folks applying for mortgages where that had an impact on their credit? Just curious, where it seems kind of weird that they would be able to post that as an entry on your credit report, but I hear you. I can see where that would be a significant threat. John in Ridgeland says, Pisgah Road at Highway 25, gas is $3.15 coming on down. No doubt about it. Appreciate that update, John. Okolona, you're right, is actually Chickasaw County. Thank you for letting me know that. I forgot about that. But nearby Monroe County, that's Aberdeen, right? I think Rhino, Aberdeen, Monroe County, Okolona, Chickasaw County. I believe they border, they're adjacent. And the reason I said Oklahoma was because the person who texted in actually asked about specifically Okolona, and Monroe counties. But yeah. And then Ricky in Aberdeen says, check out Aberdeen, Mississippi electric rate. Yeah, I'm not sure who supplies electricity to who services that area. I suspect that is either a municipality in the cities or perhaps it's an electric co-op.
I think Aberdeen has their own
city
public utility.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at it. You're right. Aberdeen Electric Department, also known as Aberdeen Public Utilities. Interesting. See if we can find the current kilowatt hour rate. Yeah, it's in line, 12.48 cents. So in Mississippi, the ones I've looked into seem to all be in that 12 to 13.5 cents range. Don't see too much of a difference. On the C Spire text line, just filled up in Meridian for $3.07.9. Good stuff. Walmart,
or is that
Flowwood.
$307?
Oh, yeah. That could be. Not sure. Just the way it's listed there. Walmart in Flowwood, $3.15. Plus, you can get the Walmart discount, 10 cents off. Cool. Ricky says, City of Aberdeen is power's crazy. It doesn't appear that way, though, Ricky. Just information I got real quick. And there are some sources that do track the kilowatt hour charge for all utility companies in the country. It shows them as charging 12.48 cents per kilowatt hour. That's actually not out of line. So, relative to other areas of the state and certainly well below the average in the country. Yeah, I should have known about Okolona because that's where Will's from, right? The Okolona Chieftains, isn't that their mascot, I believe, at the Okolona High School in Chickasaw County. Yeah. Appreciate that. Gary from Tishomingo says, in the Garden of Eden, Mike Panera, who was a member of Iron Butterfly, told me that. Told you what, Gary, exactly?
That Inagata Devita is referencing in the Garden of Eden.
Oh, okay, pardon me. I get you. Yeah. Yeah, that's been long thought to be the case, but there are others who've said, no, that's not what it meant. So I'm not sure if did Mike Panera actually say that? Is that on the record somewhere where he attested to that? Said, yep, that was the purpose. I'm not sure. Kind of makes sense. Sounds a lot like it. That's for sure. But good news is we got lots of folks reporting a significant decrease in the price of gas across the Magnolia State. So I certainly welcome news for sure. I think we're going to see it continue to move on downward as the strait normalizes and supplies pick up is really what we want. So good stuff. Is the American dream still alive? On the other side of this break, we'll tell you what a recent Gallup poll said about that. Coming right back.
America's...
Properly set all controls before recording.
All systems go. The talk that keeps Mississippi talking. Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk Mississippi.
In the year 2525, if man is still alive, if woman can survive, they may find. In the year 3535, ain't gonna need to tell the truth, tell no lies. Everything you think, do, and say is in the pill you took today. In the year 4545, ain't gonna need your teeth, won't need your eyes.
Won't need your teeth or your eyes. Nothing to chew and nobody. And then there's another lyric in there about picking your child from the bottom of a long glass tube or something like that. Oh, man. Oh, gosh. So, I teased this before we went to the break. Most believe in the dream, but many don't think everyone can achieve it. That, according to a recent Gallup poll, 78% say that the American dream is worth striving for. Same figure from the survey, a similar survey done in 2024. Most Republicans, 57%, and Democrats, 60%, agree that the dream is unfinished. People born outside the U.S. have the most forward-looking attitudes. I think we're seeing that from the World Cup, honestly. And then, of course, there's the question of what exactly is the American dream? What comes to mind when you think about it? And I think that's pretty broad with respect to opinions of that. There was a question asked, what words or phrases come to mind when you think about the American dream? This in the Gallup poll. Freedoms or individual rights, they asked. And, it turns out a bunch of people thought that was the case. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is what they say is most remindful and most represents freedoms or individual rights. That, of course, from the Declaration of Independence, something Joe Biden could never recite, despite numerous attempts to do so. Financial security or home ownership. Here's the statement that they believe represents that ideal. Owning a home, having a good paying job with good benefits, being able to afford some added comforts in addition to the necessities.
The stereotypical house with a yard and a white picket fence.
Yeah, I think so.
Family with, what is it, 2.5 kids?
Yeah, that's right. 2.5 kids. Yeah. So, that's good stuff. I thought this was a good poll. Less than half believe it is within reach for everyone, however. 46% agree strongly, 21% somewhat, 25% believe that everyone in the country has the opportunity to achieve the American dream. That's down 5 points since 2024. 42% say they feel optimistic about the future of the dream. It is important that people strive for the American dream. 9% strongly agree, 13% somewhat agree, 37% somewhat disagree, 41% strongly agree. Interesting. So, Gallup's pretty good at that stuff. But with the nation approaching its 250th birthday, I think that's a worthy topic to discuss. No doubt about it. On the C Spire text line, somebody sent us Grok's response to the question with respect to the cost of electricity in the state of Mississippi. So this particular response from Grok shows 14 to 16 cents per kilowatt hour. The few I looked at were in the 13 to 14 cents, little less than that, but still, that is still below the national average. One of the lowest residential rates in the country. Yeah, the national average, 17 to 18%, thus the 20% below average that I stated earlier. So, this is the somebody sent us a photo of a license plate. I don't know if I can read that or not. Made me laugh. What does that mean? AOC XMP? What? Maybe I'm not doing that right. I'm not sure what that means exactly. You're looking at it, trying to figure it out? Oh, man. They don't think they can because they don't want to work, says Paula Meridian, with respect to achievement of the American dream. I personally think it's alive and well. There's more opportunity than ever, in my opinion. It's just a matter of getting out there and seizing it. I agree with you, Paul. We're out of here today. Going to be at Founders Square at the Neshoba County Fair tomorrow. Stay safe, and God bless everyone.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.